The Super Bowl is full of surprises, from epic fails to unforgettable wins. But some moments just transcend the sport itself and become part of our cultural history forever. Today, we're gonna now look at 5 of those moments that made the Super Bowl what it is today. The first moment was in Super Bowl IX when the Pittsburgh Steelers took on the Dallas Cowboys. This game came down to the final seconds with the Steelers leading 21-17. The Cowboys had the ball and were driving towards a game-winning field goal. But then disaster struck. Quarterback Roger Staubach fumbled the ball, and the Steelers' Jack Ham recovered for a touchdown. And just like that, the Steelers had won their second Super Bowl in a row. This game was the first for Super Bowls to be decided by a touchdown in the final 2 minutes, and it established the Steelers as a dominant force in the NFL, setting them up for a decade of success. The next moment we'll look at is one of the biggest upsets in Super Bowl history. In 1983, the underdog Philadelphia Eagles took on the heavily favored Oakland Raiders in Super Bowl XVII. The Eagles were led by quarterback Ron Jaworski, who had only started 1 season as a pro. Meanwhile, the Raiders had a legendary coach in John Madden and a roster filled with stars like Jim Plunkett and Fred Biletnikoff. Despite being 7-point underdogs, the Eagles won 27-10. Jaworski was named the game's MVP, throwing for 315 yards and a touchdown. This upset is still considered one of the biggest in Super Bowl history, and it showed that even the most storied teams can be beaten on the biggest stage. But no Super Bowl moment is more iconic than the plays known as the catch. In 1982, the San Francisco 49ers and the Cincinnati Bengals met. In Super Bowl XVI, the game was close throughout, and with only seconds left, the 49ers were trailing by 2 points. Joe Montana threw a long pass to wide receiver Dwight Clark in the end zone. Clark made the catch and landed out of bounds, although replays were inconclusive. The catch stood, and the 49ers won 26-21. This catch was so monumental that it inspired an entire generation of football fans and players, and it helped to establish the 49ers as one of the most dominant teams of all time. But there have also been memorable moments in the Super Bowl that had nothing to do with the game itself. Take, for instance, the halftime show of Super Bowl XXXVII. At the time, the Super Bowl halftime show was a bit of an afterthought, but everything changed in 1991 when Michael Jackson headlined the show. His performance was so electric that it drew the largest television audience of any halftime show in history, and it set the stage for the mega performances we see today. Other legendary halftime shows followed, including those by Prince, Madonna, and Beyoncé, and today, the halftime show is arguably one of the most anticipated parts of the entire event. And finally, we come to one of the most controversial moments in Super Bowl history, the Immaculate Reception. In 1972, the Pittsburgh Steelers faced off against the Oakland Raiders in the first ever AFC Championship game. The Steelers were driving in the final seconds, but quarterback Terry Bradshaw's pass was deflected by a Raider defender and landed in the hands of Franco Harris, who ran it into the end zone. The crowd were wild, and the Steelers were on their way to their first Super Bowl. This play was controversial because it appeared to be illegal, but it stood up on replay and has since become known as the Immaculate Reception. It is remembered as one of the greatest moments in football history, and it helped to launch the Steelers dynasty of the 70s. So there you have it, 5 unforgettable moments that define the history of the Super Bowl. Which moment is your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic sports stories.